Hi everyone, welcome to Our Focus is You. My name is Tina Paulus-Krause, and with me,
I'm Ken Collins. How is everyone doing?
here we are again for another episode as we continue our self-development discussion on this show, and I'm really excited that we have a guest today. We're going to talk about October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so you can see that we're both in pink to celebrate that and honor that. And before we kind of get going with that and introduce our guest, what do you got going on, Ken? What's been happening in your life?
Well, my profession is to invest in others, and right now I'm currently investing in myself so I can add more value to others. And so through the John Maxwell team, I'm deep into earning my DISC profile human behavior consultant certification,
Awesome. Yeah.
which I should have in the next 30 days. And
Cool.
so I think it adds to my toolbox a very important skill and assessment platform, especially when my business is very people-based and focused. It all starts with understanding ourselves and different personality types. And so I'm going to be very happy to be able to provide that credential to my clients.
Awesome.
And so
Really cool.
that's basically what I'm working through now. You know, with October being Cancer Awareness Month, there are several fundraisers, and I am certain to participate in several of those,
Right.
including maybe even the ride, which was in the end of September here. And some of those types of activities that really create awareness to a very worthy cause. And boy, we got to get our arms around
Yeah,
that.
such an important cause.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Well, I had the workshop in August, on August 27th. It was my very first one. It was very successful, so excited about that. Just continuing to ramp up for October. We've got one coming in on October 22nd. And then immediately following that, we have our 6-week online program. So that online program is just a chance for people to kind of come in and practice the tools, and we walk along and help them out as they're going. So excited for both of those programs and just working hard to get them put together and all the logistics and everything else that goes with it put together.
Yeah, it's been really top shelf. You're putting a lot of energy into this, and it shows. It's really top shelf things that you're doing
It's
there.
it's an experience, right? It's something that I don't think is offered in the Madison area, and so I'm really excited to bring it here for the women in the Sun Prairie and Madison community.
Well, and the guys too as well.
And the guys, I know,
think
and the
there's
guys.
a case, I was very glued at the emotional connections you made throughout the workshop and things like that, and so I wouldn't be surprised if in the not too distant future there'll be others doing yoga with me and doing some self-reflection.
Right. It's interesting because you and I have talked about this. It's a whole male and female thing, and I have those workshops for women, but more and more all the time as men kind of come in and hear what it's all about. There's an audience out there for men too to be able to do something like this. So we're definitely having that in the future and thinking that might be something that's coming. So excited about that.
Cool.
Yeah. So how about we talk about our guest today?
Yeah, and I think in order to tee this up for Heather appropriately, we spent the last several weeks with our audience.
Yes.
Self-reflecting, creating an awareness, sense of discovery. Where's this journey? Here's some tools.
Right.
And now what we've been doing in our last episode and what we intend to do in this episode now is to do some storytelling that sets some application to some of the things our viewers might be working on.
Right. It's so important. Stories just come alive and you can really get to know somebody, and when you hear their story, I think 9 times out of 10, everybody can relate to a story because we're never alone. We sometimes think we are, but there's always people out there that are dealing with the same kinds of things. And why keep that to ourselves? And why, it helps people when we tell stories about experiences.
Oh, yeah. There's something about those stories.
Right.
Remember the first stories we were read to as children? I mean,
yeah.
Stories really resonate.
They really, really do. Absolutely. So let's talk about Heather. Let's introduce her.
Yeah, I met her earlier this year, and I can tell you that several things come to mind when I think of Heather, and I really mean this. I am glued whenever she speaks.
Awesome. I'm excited. I have not heard Heather's story, so I'm really excited to hear it.
She gets it. I kind of use that phrase, gets it. When I use that phrase, it generally means she understands things are about people.
Right.
And the way she talks about her business and her clients and her customers and her employees, it's all very people-centered. And so she is very intriguing to me all the time, and I'm certain she's going to be very intriguing to everyone here too as well. So
let's bring her in. I want everybody to meet Heather Knox.
Hi.
Hi,
How are
Heather. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let's just get you started off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you got going on.
Okay. I am Heather. Knox. I am the owner of Elements Massage. My husband and I opened Elements back in May of 2014. It is a massage therapy studio where we customize every single massage depending on what the client who's coming in to see us needs.
Wonderful.
So if you're a desk jockey and you have lower back pain or you keep all your stress in your shoulders, we have somebody who can see to that. If you're a triathlete, we have people who can see to that, and they will determine the best course of treatment from beginning to end depending on who you are.
Wonderful. What led you to that?
Well, in 2012, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had been in marketing and advertising for over 20 years. So
Wow. Big life change.
Big life change, yeah. I knew nothing about massage and massage therapy.
Yeah.
In 5 minutes of hearing you have breast cancer, I knew that what I wanted to do is spend time with my family and be there for my daughter. And because I was in a very deadline-driven industry, there were a lot of sacrifices to time made, and
Sure.
that stopped that day. During my treatment, during chemotherapy, and I had received massage from a friend who's a Reiki master and massage therapist, and it totally changed my perspective on what massage therapy can do for people and what it's all about. So after I was finished with everything, the light bulb went on, and I determined that's what I want people to have. I want to help people. That's what I want them to have. How do I do that? And so my husband and I started talking about opening a business. He had always wanted his own business, and I said, well, I just beat cancer, so it can't be that hard.
Right,
I can do
exactly.
this. And massage therapy is a very creative profession, and it's very human-centric and very devoted to positive outcomes for both the massage therapist and the person on the table. So that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
So to learn about the industry, we opened up an Elements after researching the brand. I kind of know a little bit about brands, and then it's gone from there. I hope to start school in the spring to become a therapist myself.
That's awesome. So branding's your background, right?
Branding is my background,
Right,
yes.
right.
I would, I love to design logos. That's still kind of my thing. I like to do that. I like to design a brand and a look and a feel for an overall brand.
Right.
I did the Madison Children's Museum logo
Oh,
through
cool.
through a contest once upon a time.
That is really
a
cool.
few years ago. So
Yeah.
they anonymously chose my logo out of 750 others.
Right. That's really cool.
Heather, obviously the news of cancer was the aha moment that
Yep.
triggered self-reflection and then a new direction. Were there any indicators early on in life that this was a path for you, and does it all kind of link? Is there a story behind the story, so to
It does
speak?
kind of link together. In second grade, I was doing anatomy and physiology illustrations. You know, people would draw hearts like this. I did not draw hearts like that. I drew them correctly. When I was in high school in my advanced biology course, I would take notes not by writing, but by drawing what I saw. My teacher at the time said, you know, you can make a living doing that. And he pointed me out to a biological pre-medical illustration program at Iowa State, and I am a trained medical illustrator. I had done that for 3.5 years at LSU Med Center in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Cool.
So I've always been interested in physiology, in medicine, and in, you know, what people can do other than pop a pill to make themselves well. Ironically, my favorite thing to draw is muscles. So after coming up here, I kind of fell into commercial art instead of medical illustration, and now it's kind of come full circle in a way.
Right.
So yeah, I do have a medical background way back that some people don't know about, but
Yeah.
I've always kind of been interested in it. Any
Any indicators early on about this desire to help others and do well for others? Is there a link there too as well?
Yeah, I can tell the tone of a day by walking into a room and noticing how people are. I can tell if people are having a bad day without them saying a word. Somebody walks into my studio, I can see it on their face, the way they carry themselves. I've always been this way. And it's always been my desire to get them out of that and make them laugh, or do something, whether it's baking, I do bake, I like to, or hugging or whatever it is, to get them out of that pressure, that depression or that sadness or whatever is affecting them in life, and saying, you know what, it's not bad, it'll pass.
So then do you, when that happens and they walk into your studio, how do you determine what the best course of action? I mean, is it just kind of a one-size-fits-all for massage, or are there different
Oh, no.
things that you can do based on what your health is?
No, we are all different. There is no human being that is alike, even in twins. There are differences. Everybody deserves to have a unique experience and their own experience, depending on what they need. It is not necessarily my determination, because I'm not an expert at massage therapy. I leave my experts up to determine the best course of action for them. But it is my belief that everybody should be treated as an individual.
Right. So
It's not cookie cutter.
right. So how does that look? So what are the differences in those different kinds of methods?
Well, you could have, if you have a highly stressful occupation and you're just wanting to come down from that, you might have a Swedish or relaxation massage, where it flows kind of like the ocean flows, and it's very gentle and it's very soothing. If you're an athlete, a swimmer, a biker, a runner, and you need to have trigger point deep tissue work on your quads, on your back, on any muscles where you've accumulated these trigger points, these knots, then you might want to have a deep tissue trigger point. If you are going through cancer or are a cancer survivor, you might need oncology massage. You might need manual lymphatic drainage, which gets rid of the fluids that build up under your skin and drains it back into the lymph nodes to circulate through your body instead of causing those pocketings. You might, if you have a lot of scar tissue, you might want to have myofascial release, which helps release those adhesions through massage. So there are many different modalities. That's what we call it. We call it modalities. There are many different modalities that could apply to your situation.
Right.
Heather, at a young age, you mentioned this awareness, emotional awareness, which I think today is called emotional intelligence.
Right.
How do you take that to clients? Massage appears to be very physical on the surface. Oh, and what's in it for me kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I know you have also an emotional philosophy with your therapists and your business in general. Could you explain the emotional side?
Absolutely. Massage is based upon not only physical treatment, but paying attention to that emotional connection that you have. When you have a person on your table, you have to establish trust, because you're in a very vulnerable position, obviously, and there's trust that needs to be built on both parties. It's once you have that trust, once that person releases themselves to you, then the rest is icing. It is a very emotional profession too, when somebody comes in having a bad day or having stresses in life, and then they come on your table, they sit on the table, and then they'll just spill their guts to you, and there's a lot of negativity.
Right.
And,
It's a good
and
release.
therapists have to learn how to let some of that in, but then turn that around and turn that into a positive energy that's released back to the person on the table, getting them to slow down and getting them to think that, you know what, it's not so bad, it will get better. But therapists appear to me to be very empathetic people. Empathy is huge in this profession. They have to protect themselves and
Sure.
not take in everything, because they can see 5 clients in a shift, and if all 5 of those clients have negativity, that can affect you.
They have to
As-
protect themselves.
They have
from
to
the
protect
negative, yeah.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does that look? Because we've talked about that before.
Yes, we
We've
did.
talked about that before, and I know that I have a couple of tools that I use for that. But I'm curious to see, in the massage world, what does that mean?
Well, I can't speak to how therapists individually handle it. I could speak to how I handle it.
Sure.
If there is a person who's going through something sad or something negative, I will listen. Listening is huge, and just letting them vent that, get that out of themselves, and have somebody just hear them. Because I think a lot of times people are so focused on what's going on here,
Yeah.
but they forget to see what's going on here. And listening is something that people just don't seem to do a lot of anymore.
And I think that's getting worse. Like as we get more mobile and technology and everything else that happens, I think that that's something that we will have to find new and different ways to combat that. It's a growing issue, I think.
Yeah, the multitasking creates a deflection from what's going on
Right.
currently, and that's a whole other segment by itself.
Right. Well, it's a
Absolutely.
connectivity. We're constantly connected, 24/7 day, a day. So,
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, as you were going through the breast cancer,
Mm-hmm.
how did your emotions and how were your emotions affected? How did you stay positive? How did you stay, I'm going to keep going? All those things that kind of have to do with the emotions that we're talking about.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a wreck for probably a couple weeks going into it, and then I just had to snap myself out of it. I had people who were depending on me. I have a family who loves me. I had people that I worked with that loved me, and that support meant everything to me. I chose humor. I blogged. I have a blog that's called I Intend to Laugh All the Way.
Nice.
So what I did in this blog was every time I went in and something was confusing to me, I would bring it home, digest it, and break it down into layman's terms and blog about the different medicines, the different procedures, the different terminologies, so everything's in layman's terms.
Right.
And it helped me to digest what I was going through. So that was kind of my journaling. That was my way to deal with the day-to-day of going through pretty much a year of pretty brutal stuff.
Yeah.
And in a sense, instead of internalizing all the things you were feeling, you were able to find a path to
Yes.
externally express it, which probably helped your mindset
That's
as
therapy
well.
in of
And
itself.
I wish everybody had the perspective of that I gained without having to go through something like cancer. Very quickly, it becomes very clear what's important.
Right.
Very, very clear.
Right.
The top thing was family. The next thing was helping others. The next thing was leaving a legacy I can be proud of.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of, once I started that path, things would just fall into place to help that happen. So, and now we have a business, and it's thriving, and we have a great staff, and we have people who are positive and happy and doing good work for
That's
people. And it really is encouraging me to continue on my path to
Right.
do the same.
So the new business and Elements Massage and a new industry, was that all born out of beating cancer? Or was it a part while you were going through it? This is something that will help ease my mind. How did that all? What was
Yeah.
the timing of all that? And
Well, when I was going through the illness, I liked what I was doing, but I didn't love it. I didn't think that what I was doing was truly helping people. And after receiving care from my friend, it became very apparent to me that this would be something I would like to do. And yes, because of cancer, our business exists.
Right.
If I hadn't had it, I'd probably still be,
Yeah.
you
were settling.
on the same path. And you don't have to do that. If you're not happy doing what you do, life is short. Just do it. The worst thing that'll happen is it may not go the way you see it going or the way you want it to, but it can get better. You just have to keep trying.
boy, what's very inspirational for all of us is that you receive news that you have cancer, and I'm sure one of the first couple thoughts are, and I've never been through it, so I don't know, but I'm sure it's like, well, wait a minute, this happens to everyone else, not me. And then you go through a racing mind where it's all about attitude. And okay, here's this fork in the road, and I can either go down optimistic or I can feel sorry for myself.
Yeah.
And where I'm getting inspired just listening to you is that you chose a path to do something positive with it, redirect it, and then give back and help others. Is that kind of how it all unfolded there for those of us who have not experienced that?
Yeah, exactly. For every bad thing that happened, I would think of a good thing that came of it. Bad thing number one, I had cancer. Good thing that came of it, I have a great new business with wonderful people. Bad thing, I had a double mastectomy. Good thing is I spend time with my daughter, and I can make her lunch, I can make her breakfast, I can pick her up from school or be there when she gets home from school, go to her meets, do everything that I was missing before. For every bad thing, there was a good thing. Sometimes for every bad thing, there were 3 good things. You know, I have perspective, and that's you know, worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, perspective. It keeps kind of coming up. It's all
Yep.
about perspective. My sister-in-law, I'm going to try and get through this without getting emotional, but my sister-in-law, my husband's brother's wife had breast cancer, and I was with her actually when she literally passed, and it was a really tough experience. And I think as somebody who's a family member to somebody who's going through something like that, what kind of advice can you give to them? Because I know, and the reason that I ask it is because I know there's those kinds of subjects are tough to talk about if you haven't been through it or if you haven't experienced it. So as a family member or a loved one or a friend, how can they be as supportive as possible to somebody going through cancer?
That's a really good one. Be present. Just be present, and don't wait for somebody to ask for help. Just bring help, whether it's stopping by to visit and, oh, by the way, I'll do your laundry, or stopping by and it's like, well, we're in the Midwest, here's a tater tot casserole, you know. Just being present and being an advocate for that person while they're going through what they're going through, because at that point in time, there's a lot of inward focus, there's a lot of soul searching, and there's a lot of physical, you have to drill down and really focus on getting through day by day. Because you're not thinking 5 years from now, you're thinking tomorrow, what's going to happen, or how am I going to get through tomorrow? And then you get through tomorrow, and then you're going to get through the next day. So people who are going through it don't have the presence of mind to say, I need somebody to do my grocery shopping, or, well, you know, I could use somebody to babysit for me so I can have a nap, or something like that. So just be present. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to talk to people about it. Don't be afraid to come and see them. There's never a bad time for that, to have somebody come and give you support.
Right. I think the hardest thing about it, that, you know, you look back on it and think about it, and the hardest thing was you just felt so helpless.
Yes.
You know, you just feel really, really helpless because you love that person and they're going through such a hard time.
Well, and I think that's also a huge component of it, is you realize very quickly who's in charge, and you're not in charge. And that's where my crossroads was, where I could either go to woe is me, or I could say, you know what, these are the cards I'm dealt. I've got to do the best I can with those cards, and I've got to make this positive, because negativity has an effect on us physically as well.
You can manifest either one, right?
You can manifest either one, and if you keep that negativity in and you keep that depression in, it will just aid and abet what's going on in your body.
So in a sense, Heather, you are in charge.
Yes.
You're in charge of choices.
You are in charge.
Back to a previous episode about taking the victim role, but you made choices to make this and view it as positive outcomes. All too often, whether it's the wrong support network or those negative self-beliefs we have when we look in the mirror, we may choose choices that aren't helpful to us. And so I'm really impressed about the way you've handled it and shared with us there too. But any thoughts on that?
You are in charge of how you handle it. You are not in charge of what's happening in your body. You are not in charge of what your physicians are going to do to and for you, but you are in charge of how you project yourself and how you act during the time, and how you react to it. And it is a choice. You can choose to be negative and sad and despondent, or you can choose to say, you know what, you can control this, but I can control this. And I want other people to know that they have control too. You don't have to continue to do what you think you have to do or you should do. You have the control to choose your own path.
So what kind of a support system do you have now?
I have a wonderful daughter. I have a wonderful husband. I have staff at my studio that I consider family. You know, my mom is still with us, and I did lose my father to cancer in 2010. So it's been an interesting 5 years.
Yeah, right.
But I have friends and I have family. I had friends that lifted me up every day
That's awesome.
during my illness and I had a friend who would take me to my doctor's appointments and everything when my husband couldn't. So she was by my side pretty much the whole time.
What advice for people who don't have that support system do you have? How can they find it?
I know at UW that they do have cancer support and they do have mentors that will help you navigate the journey. Because, you know, a lot of people say, oh, journey is such a trite word, such an overused word, but it really is.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a day-to-day, got to make choices, got to have somebody help you through it, and, you know, or reach out to another survivor that will be more than happy to talk you through things. I'm always open to that.
I have to imagine you're in the pay it forward kind of mentality, the advocacy, helping others. I mean, you started out that way, but
Yep.
I have to imagine that it just grows
Yep.
as you go through this experience.
I try to stay positive by example.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a saying, we become how we think.
Mhm.
And that keeps running through my mind as I listen to your story.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned too, as you were doing self-reflection with the news, that legacy.
Mhm.
And so with us winding down here, could you tell us a little bit about how you see your legacy unfolding and your passions here moving forward?
Well, hopefully the business keeps going and we keep gaining more people to our family and growing it. We consider our members family too. My legacy, I'm hoping, isn't that I had cancer. My legacy, I'm hoping, is, wow, she really made a difference. Or she always made me laugh. Or, you know, she was the greatest mom. She would, you know, bake me cookies without even having to ask. You know,
Right.
that's what I want my legacy to be. I want my legacy to be, you know, here was somebody who was faced with something terrible and she made positive change out of it.
Right.
So,
I think that's already happened.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I think you could add to the legacy. I think when people walk away from you, they walk away going, yep, she cares about me.
yeah.
And I think that has threads way back into the early years, like most things. That awareness of emotions and emotional intelligence really adds steroids to someone's genuine people focus. You have that but when you now are aware of other people's emotions and your own and how they affect and impact, you're gonna have people walk away saying, yep, she cares. It also means there's gonna be a lot of people following you. And so you're many things coming out of this. You're also a leader, Heather.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm a hugger. You know, I hug everyone.
Right.
I think that that's the greatest, most positive physical act you can do, is to put your heart against somebody else's and just say, I'm taking this moment to share my space with you and
Right.
give you due attention.
Right.
Well, I think when we're done here, we're going to give her a hug, aren't we?
Right, we are. We are, definitely. Well, I have to tell you, you are so inspirational. Thank
Thanks.
you so much for being here today. We didn't cry, but I got a little choked up over your story.
I tried to keep it so
You're
you
awesome.
wouldn't be.
Yes, you're amazing. You're amazing. Thank you so much for what you're doing for the community, and good luck to you and your business.
Thank you.
As you move forward.
Thank
So,
you, Heather.
Thank you
yeah.
for having me.
Yeah, so next episodes.
Next episode. I'm going to let you take that one.
All right, well, we're going to move, the next episode now is we're going to move to the action portion of this journey that Tina and I have been taking you on. And so, again, the self-awareness, self-reflection, my giftedness, my passions, where are the opportunities, here are the tools to utilize. We now have, in the last two episodes, given you some personal stories that would help resonate on people finding those paths and lining up their giftedness, their passions, and then with opportunities, or create opportunities, right, Heather?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's the whole purpose of the show, right? We talk about this. We're trying to open up the discussion. We're trying to open up and allow the discussion to happen in a space where people can safely talk about their stories. And what that does for the viewers is that I think it makes people feel like they're not alone. So often we walk through this life and we go through tragedy and we go through bad things that happen, and if we're not careful to rise up out of that, we feel very, very alone. And so that's really the goal of this program, is to just open up the conversation. Let's talk about it, and so that people don't have to feel alone.
Yeah, we heard a lot in the last two episodes about choosing the right environment, having the correct mindset, but also the support groups that surround us. And so
Important.
part of the future episode now on action is support group, because in order to get to action, you're going to enter the comfort zone.
Right.
Well, you're in the comfort zone, but you're going to get to the edge of that
Gotta get
where it
past it.
feels uncomfortable, and that's actually what I like to refer to as the terror barrier. And so you can't take that one more step unless you do have a nice support network around you to keep you positive on those days you have those negative self-beliefs, and to keep moving forward, because otherwise we'll resort back to where we were.
You go back to your cave.
Nothing
absolutely.
changes. We're not very satisfied or happy, and things like that. And so we're anxious to go on to the next steps here too.
Absolutely. All right, that wraps us up, I think, for this one. So we will see you guys next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.